What's up, Grapper fans? It's about time to say goodbye to my dream truck, and I wanted to cover everything I've done to this thing from start to finish to either keep it running or keep it looking to the level I wanted. I'm very picky about my truck and what I'm driving, and I try to do everything to the best of my ability to keep it perfect and make it look perfect. So as you can see, pretty common, white and tan two-tone King Ranch truck, but I've done some things that set it apart from the everyday truck. I wanted to start from the very beginning with the first thing I did. It's a 2011. I bought it in 2015. The guy I bought it from had some chrome 20s on it that I wasn't a fan of. First things first, I think I went ahead and got rid of the full drive valance. So I had a faded valance on the front that hung down really far, and now I've got this two-wheel drive version I picked up from the Ford dealership, and it's a good like 3 inches shorter or so. Helps with clearance a little bit. You can see my tires kind of worn it some from when I was running the 40s and 14 wides, but that helps a little bit with clearance. The next thing I did was delete the truck. I went with a Flow Pro exhaust, and at the time I just did a regular delete kit that some company offered. I think it was like a Rudy's generic kit. Let's see, I had a S&B air intake and a Mini Max tuner. So that was a pretty standard setup at the time, 2015, like just delete it. That was what you did. I think the next thing I did was level it. So I did 1.5 inch rough country under the coil spacer. So instead of having on top of, you gotta imagine this is a coil over, but instead of having a spacer on top of the coil spring, it went underneath the mount right here on the axle. You can see I no longer have that spacer in there, but I did that 1.5 inch leveling kit, and that let me clear 37 by 1350/20 mud grapplers on the same wheel here. Obviously these are a bit bigger. Maybe hard to tell with this 10-inch lift. It looks like little tires, but these are 40s. So at that point, I'm deleted and tuned, leveled on 37s. This was 2015. It was a great look. I had seen it done before, but it really wasn't a thing on Instagram people were doing. Now you got people stuffing 38s under these trucks all day long on very small lifts, and I support it. I think the big tire look on the stock wheel, just barely fitting in there. This is a little bit too much wheel well gap for me. This is just a little too high. I think I might go a little bit lower in the future if I'm just running 40s, but some of y'all know I've got the 42s in the shed for the next truck, so we'll see what I end up doing there. So now I'm leveled on 37s. I'm deleted and tuned. Next thing I did was window tint. Now I haven't really talked about my window tint at all. Let's go ahead and try to look in here. And I don't mind the water spots. I washed it earlier and it dried too quick, but can't see in there at all. I mean, I know it's overcast right now, but let's look in the front windshield. You can kind of see, like you can see this Lone Star stickers on the inside, so that kind of gives you a reference as to how far in you can see there. We'll open up the door. You can see that's outside, and that's through the tent, and then you got outside again and through the windshield. So this is 5% on all 4 side windows and the back glass, 35% on the windshield. The whole windshield, not a brow or anything like that. It's the whole windshield. I even tinted my sunroof. So 5% all around, 35% on the windshield. The sunroof was just done best they could to match the side windows. The sunroof is already tinted pretty darkly, so I think they just threw like 20% on there and it made it nice and dark. They also said if you go too dark on the sunroof, you can end up with it overheating and cracking because it's up top and the type of glass it is. Don't know, never had that issue, but 20%, no problem. So driving this thing with this tint has been phenomenal. In the daytime, I don't even need sunglasses, and y'all can see I'm blonde haired and pale. I definitely don't love the sun in my eyes. you know, like a football player puts black crap on their face to get the sun out of their eyes. Well, I've got all these little tiny mirrors just shining light right into my eye for these blonde eyebrows. So I can't stand the light. I like dark tint. And this setup's been perfect. Maybe if the sun is like setting, like right around now, it's like 6 o'clock, and I'm driving right at it, I might throw some sunglasses on, because the front windshield is not super dark, but it is dark enough to cut the glare down. And with that, I also really like how at nighttime, the oncoming headlights are just so much dimmer. I can still see them. I don't feel uncomfortable driving this thing at night at all. I know you have to roll the windows down to turn. Some people, it might be too dark for you, but in my opinion, this 5 all the way around with 35 on the windshield has been excellent. I may even go darker in the future, just to protect the interior and make sure nobody can see in. But I've been very happy with it. Another thing I did right away was get rid of the stock steps that hung way down and looked like a grandpa truck. I had to get rid of those. It wasn't my style. And later I put these Amp XLs on, which even these are a little bit too bulky for me. I would prefer just the regular Amp steps. I think I may do that next time because they tuck up so well. But this XL has this big piece here that lets them come down farther, and it's really nice, you know, with a 10-inch lift to have the big steps that come down way far. My mom can get in the car. My wife has no problem getting in. It's really nice. I'm all about the looks, and it's a little bulky for me. So I had to get rid of the stock steps immediately. Super bulky. And another weird thing, still with appearance, the side door molding. You may notice I don't have any door molding on this truck. Doesn't really stand out, but typically it'll have a strip here that kind of protects you from getting door dings. When somebody opens their car door, it'll hit that piece of plastic instead of your paint. Well, for some reason, it only had faded on one side, and you can see that in this little clip. Faded on one side, so I decided to go ahead and take it off on both sides. It's very small on these trucks. I do appreciate how thin the little strip is they put on there, because in the past, like my old truck had a big, like 3-inch massive piece of plastic there, and it was just so gaudy I had to get rid of it. So I already knew how to take it off. It wasn't too bad. Didn't really have any issues with taking it off on here. It looks great. With all that fun stuff done, I was super happy with the truck, and I was going on about my merry way, black smoking, doing burnouts, and just living the dream. I had always wanted this truck. When I had the 98 F150 from back in the day, that 2-wheel drive thing, I was always looking at these white King Ranch trucks going, man, one day I'll have one of those with some mud wraps. And I had it. I was on top of the world, and I had my little center console and a four-wheeler. Met my wife, you know, we were dating at the time, living my best life. Had a great time. Well, then started running into some mechanical issues. First, it was little things related to having a deleted, you know, extra power truck and a heavy foot, and just, you know, kind of being fresh out of high school and just really excited, just joined the military, like got that E3 money, and I blew the turbo intercooler boot right off this thing, you know, with the tuner turned all the way up. Had to replace that. I got a metal one with like the rubber hose instead of the plastic junk that's on there. So I'll pop the hood and I'll show you. I've gotten rid of all the plastic junk now. As you can see, there's nothing plastic in there anymore. I got metal piping with the rubber hoses band clamped in there. Very solid, can handle the PSI that this turbo is putting out, which I'll get to in a moment. But stock, deleted and tuned, I blew that intercooler pipe right off. It like was totally cracked, had to replace it. got that short-term fix of just putting a new intercooler pipe in, and I was good to go. No issues from there until I blew this thing up. So some of y'all know, if you've seen my other video about watch before you buy a 6.7 Powerstroke, I go really in-depth with all the issues I had. This is kind of a general timeline of what has happened to this truck, what I've done to it, what I've made worse, what I've made better. I blew this truck up. It's a 2011, and they're kind of known, if you do enough research. Some people don't believe it's an issue. They think it's just, user error. Well, the glow plugs are apparently brittle in some of the early build 2011s. I think this one was built in November of 2010, so one of the first 6.7s to roll off the lot, compared to now, they're still making the 6.7s in 2020. This truck blew up to the point where it was running like crap. I was racing this thing full speed, wide open throttle, all the boost it could handle with the stock turbo, and the tuner turned all the way up. Full drive launched it, and maybe I had it coming to me, but also I feel like you ought to be able to floor your truck and it go wide open at least once and not blow up. Well, in my case, it blew up like first try. So I had the tuner turned all the way up, traction control off, and advanced track, like fully no traction control, racing some guy in Mexico, and man, that thing just sounded like it opened up another. It's already straight pipe, but it got even louder and sounded like it was cammed and like a big gas V8 engine with open headers. It was just wah la 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 la. I'm not going to get too crazy with the sound effects here, but it sounded terrible. I pulled over, the thing was loping, shaking. Mad, I freaking checked the code on my tuner. It told me I had a number 6 or whatever glow plug failure. I didn't even know that was a code that could happen. Something about my glow plug was the code. And I knew right away I just blew this thing up. So I had it towed to a Ford dealership. My insurance covered the tow to the Ford dealership. They confirmed that it was metal all through the engine. One of the cylinders was self-destructed, had kind of chewed up the glow plug. A valve, something was in there, wasn't happy, and it was running on 7 cylinders or so. Well, then they, threw me for a loop, wanted me to pay 23 grand for the same 2011 engine to go back in, or to rebuild the one that's in there. And I said, nope, screw you guys, I'm taking this somewhere else. I took it to Powerstroke Performance and Repair in Chesapeake, Virginia. Joe up there was willing to do what I wanted. He already had a 2016 crate engine. Well, it was actually out of a truck, but it was a complete accessories and all, everything but the transmission, but it had wiring harness, all that, ready to go. I had him throw that in there, and while I was at it, I put that single non-VGT turbo from Borg-Warner in Maryland Performance Diesel. That's why I have this piping kit here. It's all color matched, and I've covered that in the video specifically about the turbo. But I went with the non-VGT because it's slightly less moving parts than the new sequential turbos that come in these, that kind of adjust to give you more performance off the line, and kind of maximize your boost at all RPM levels. Whereas this old school non-VGT, you got to give it power, wait till it builds up, and then it comes on super strong like a 2-stroke dirt bike. Transmission, I covered that. Watch before you buy 6.7 Powerstroke. Basically, I had to change my solenoids out because it started acting funny after a little while. This is still the 2011 transmission. So if you're having any issues with the transmission, check out that video. So I finally get that all done. I got the truck running again. I throw this 8-inch BDS lift on. This is the 4-link conversion with the 8-inch Fox coilover. It's got the DSC adjustable knobs here, so you can change the compression. So that's the dual speed compression adjustable. And like I said, this is sitting at 10 inches, but it's an 8-inch kit. So what I did was just cranked this down and before I got in alignment to make it sitting at 10 inches, and for that, with that amount of lift, it's sitting dead level. Very happy with it. It was nosediving a little bit when they first put the 8-inch kit on. I'll show you, it's an 8-inch lift leaf spring in the rear, no blocks, so we got a real steep arc of a leaf spring here. So that's the lift kit, and then you get a big fancy lift kit like this, you get a t-shirt with it. Just realized I'm repping BDS right now, but they've been good to me. Definitely happy with this kit. Haven't had any issues with it. Now, running 40s, what kind of issues have I had with running 40s all the time? I've got the 40s on 24x14s. I've run that even with wheel spacers. And these are 2-inch Shifted Industries wheel spacers I'm running to clear these 40 1550s on here. That gives me enough room to turn full lock without rubbing at all on this current lift. Now, to make sure I wasn't rubbing, and on the 24x14s I needed this, I've got the BDS bumper spacer kit. I'm not sure how much it spaces it out. I'm thinking it's like 1 inch, but you can see how this doesn't exactly line up, and it's not super noticeable. You can tell me otherwise if you think it is, but I think that's a very subtle way to get a little bit more clearance in the front, keep your tire from rubbing. Been happy with that. But what happens when you run 40s all the time, and just like everyone tells you, you're going to wear out your wheel bearings. So I had to replace a wheel bearing about 6 months ago. It's the first one I've had to replace the whole time. The truck has 100,000 miles on it, and that's, to my knowledge, the only time a wheel bearing has been replaced on it. I've still haven't had any issues out of the passenger side. It was on the driver's side that I replaced it. Put a new Timken hub in there. Been very happy with that so far. No issues. I may replace the other one just to match them up a little bit, but honestly I feel like it's best to replace them both at once. I just, at the time, wanted to go ahead and get a new one in there because it was making a ton of noise and I was really concerned about it, and they only had one in stock from where I got it from. So I had to replace the hub. Y'all seen the video I've covered my dual steering stabilizers. That was an option I got with this BDS kit. Check out that one where I show whether I think those are really worth the money or not, because I wasn't sure if they did anything until I did some testing on them. Kind of make our way slightly to, I guess, the interior type stuff. So up under here is my EasyLink tuner. You can see the little light there. I'm running the PPEI EasyLink with this 5-position shift on the fly switch, and I really like how I've got this in this little cubby here. I covered that in my EasyLink review a long time ago, but I've got the switch mounted in there. It looks super clean, and it's totally like discreet. Very happy with it. I usually run it on about 3, so for this 5-position switch, like 0, or I guess position 1 is stock. Then it goes up in like 50 horsepower increments from what I understand. So 2 is 50 horsepower added to stock, 3 is 100, 4 is 150, and I believe 5 is 200. Can't remember exactly. I have a little bit of custom tuning going on because it's a 16 engine and a 11 truck with an aftermarket turbo. So the exact numbers are a little bit fuzzy. Plus the turbo adds extra power over stock anyway. Haven't dynoed the truck. Don't know how much power it's getting. I don't want to make any claims. But this sucker's fast, and I really enjoy it. Another thing I've got in here, this here's a splitter that lets me run 2 things into my OBD2 port at one time. So the tuner is always connected to it, and so are my amp steps. So in order to run both, I got this splitter from Amp Research, I believe, and that was really nice. It's pretty clean and subtle. From up here, you don't notice it at all. And that's kind of what I was going for. The interior is pretty stock. I didn't want to, get crazy with splatter paint or anything. So just going for subtle in here. I don't want a bunch of switches, or gauges, anything crazy. Now, I do have this little cup holder, like iPhone mount, that I've been putting my iPad in so I can see my EasyLink tuner. It also works well for my phone. Sometimes I can just put it in like that. A couple other things I wanted to mention. I put these AFE diff covers on the truck when I lifted it. Been really happy with them so far. It's a super clean look. Makes it look very finished and complete. Here's a look at the rear one. So that about covers everything I've done to my dream truck. I'm going to be sad to see it go if it sells. But it's about time for dinner. I'm going to dig into these nachos. Got some pulled pork, some fresh guac. Thank y'all so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what I'm getting into next. And definitely comment if you have any questions.